I had one of those dreams on Saturday night. Did you ever have a dream that's so real, it's so vivid? You see everything that happened, and this dream was so real and so vivid, I thought I'd like to write it all down. It would make a good TV show. You'd get at least 2 or 3 seasons out of it. And it took a lot of twists and turns. And I'll just give you a little, just a few of the key points of it, maybe to make my point. It started, there was a little boy who was really struggling, and as a young kid, and school was just really hard for him. And teachers gave him a hard time. The kids really teased him because he stuttered. And he hated, like I am now standing in front of a group, that would have been his worst nightmare. And I thought, well, I have that dream. My wife and I, our real passion in life is working with young people. In fact, in SOS, we started a lot of programs for teens. And I thought, well, so that's not out of the ordinary for me to dream about young people. But this little kid just kept getting teased. And then he went home. And as he went home to one of those really horrible places, one of those places that hopefully none of you grew up in. And going home was really not a good place. So a lot of nights he would try to find someplace else to be because he didn't want to go home. But school was even worse. And then the only thing he really had in his life was sports. And he was playing, and then one day, sports was going to be his ticket, and one day he tore up his knee, and then the next year he tore up his knee again, and it was the end of his sports career, and that was his ticket to go to college. So, I mean, that's a lot of dreaming, and we're only at the halfway. Later on, he starts heading down the wrong path. Home got worse and worse. Quit school, left home at age 16, 17, somewhere around there. Went out to make a way for himself. Ended up going to college for 13 years or 14, spending year after year working, married, raising kids, until one day something changed. And the change in his life headed him in a different path. He realized that all he was ever doing was working and working and working and ending nowhere. Is that any of you? And in our book, we call that the journey from success to significance. But as he looked back on his life, as he was looking back on his life, he realized that the greatest thing in his life was that he was married to the love of his life, and he got it one day. And he understood that, and he understood that the kids that he had were such a gift. And he continued through all of that, and suddenly this kid who stuttered starts this whole new life where talking is what he did for a living. And people actually stayed when he was done, and no one laughed anymore. And suddenly his life got better, he got his priorities straight, and when I woke up from that dream, I thought, this is so good, I'd like to write a book about that. And as I woke up, I looked down at the most beautiful sight I've ever seen in my life, as I saw my wife asleep with that sweet angelic look. And she looked up at me and opened her eyes, and she said, "Good morning. Did you have sweet dreams?" And I said,